Oh, I'm not walking hours of debating.
You give them a run for their money.
Me and Tim still living on North O Street, and I sparsely attended a meeting last week about our wonderful deal with the finances and how great everything is. I'm quite sure we'll get another plaque. And it was followed by a very raucous meeting about where you're going to get $60 million or $80 million. It started out very calm, and it wound up in pretty much of a free-for-all, I think, because the mayor just banged the gavel down, and we all went on with no decision being made and no suggestions being made as to what to do. It was more just an argument session. The problem is they want to raise our taxes to over 10 mils, bring it up to 12 or 13 mils. And of course you can't do that. Yes, you can, because you just ask the people if they will do it. And if they will do it, then we can do it. That sounds great. The only trouble is it'll only be a very small portion of town that will pay for it, because it will be put on your ad valorem taxes. And in the folder that was handed out, it shows all the poor properties in town, making up a third of the properties that will pay very little, at about 8 or 9% that will be paying all of it. That is not going to work, folks. Let me tell you that. Don't go through all this rigmarole, and then at the end I heard the city manager get up and say, wait a minute, you can't go, you can't leave. We've got to have this together. You've got to give us the money so that we can start with the bond issue. You can't leave. But I'm glad to see Mayor Trejo bang the gavel down, and we all went home. I hope we have many more of these meetings, and I hope they are better attended than the first one. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Squire, followed by Anna Maria Windish Hunt. Suzanne Squire's written something. You can not know what we want if you do not ask. Please ask us. Do not tell us what we get. It assumes I am stupid, and it assumes you're impolite. Okay? Anna Marie. Lake Worth Recreation Committee is having a fundraiser at E.R. Bradley's April 10th, 7 to 9 p.m. Performing will be Melon Vinny, Kat Mahoney, and Alan Anapu. Tickets $10, restaurant and bar open, available, raffle prizes. Cruise for 2, value $450. Lake Worth Experience, something, value $500. Okay.
Anna Maria has tickets.
Oh, did you want to talk? I'm sorry. I didn't see you. You did? Okay. Come on down to the fundraiser. I didn't know, I had to sell it better. Okay. Again, April 10th, 7 to 9. Loretta Sharp and Anna Marie's here. Loretta Sharp, followed by Nadine Burns.
Loretta Sharp, I'm still on South Conway. I had a telephone call from a friend and said that they read on a blog that somebody had emailed our city attorney. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. Let them call their own attorney. I don't want to pay when answering emails or making telephone calls to the residents of Lake Worth, any resident of Lake Worth. If I need an attorney, I have 5 attorneys. I call one of them. That's number 1. Number 2, I wasn't going to speak about the bond issue of $50 to $80 million. But if you need to fix the streets and the sewers and the sidewalks, which you desperately do need to do, there's not a resident in this city that can say you don't need to do it, because you do need to do it. Put it on a ballot and let us vote for it. It takes 5 of you, or 3 of you, to put it on a ballot. Just let us vote for it. I would be willing to pay $5 a month more, $10 a month more to get the streets fixed and the sidewalks fixed. And the streets and sidewalks in my neighborhood are pretty good. But I would be more than willing to see the city get a real head start on the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you.
That might be towards an item, I'm not sure.
That's towards an item.
I'm not sure.
Screening. Ms. Byrne.
Hi there, Mayor and Commission. This is Nadine Burns from 1424 North L Street. And I want to thank you very much. I used to pay my utility bill in person, because we just thought it was better to do it that way from a past incident. But I have to say, having to go in there, I was just so taken with the changes in that building. It was so refreshing to sit there. It was so wonderful to feel that the staff that we employed to serve us had such a better environment to be at for so many hours a day. The murals are wonderful, fantastic, the clean paint, everything about it. The attitude from the staff, they were very helpful. Got my water meter changed, they pointed out a water leak for me. Got that fixed and repaired, and I can't say enough about what seemed like a light switch, a complete change in an area. It was a pleasure to go in there and do business with them, and you left there feeling really good that they had a better environment to work in, because I've sat where you are, and I've been in that building when it didn't look so good, and I really felt bad for the people that work there. Now I wish I had more business to do in there, because I'm gonna bring my granddaughters in to see the mural. The other thing is, we had Pride Fest this weekend, and something that didn't get talked about, talking about the volunteers and the people that do things. The people that came out in our community, and I can't name them because I won't remember them all, but the volunteers that put those welcome mats out and did those colors along the crosswalk. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I'm so happy that I live in a community that celebrates the diversity that we have, and people getting out there willing to do the things necessary to kind of brighten up downtown and to make that more evident for the world to see. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. R. Frank Cantor. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm here because I got a parking ticket. I got a parking ticket while attending the Saturday morning open air market at Green Market, yes. And I was parked there, and I was parked there for barely a half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I got a ticket, okay? I was shocked at the ticket. I've been going there for 10 years or something, never got a ticket before, and never got a ticket in Lake Worth before. I mean, most of the time parking is free. So I was shocked to learn that I actually filled out all the forms, okay, to challenge my ticket. And then when I looked through it, there were a whole lot of questions that I had, and it turns out that on your form here, most of the stuff that's supposed to be filled in with real information, like phone numbers to call and addresses, it's not filled in, it's just X's. I'll provide you with this in a moment. But the main thing that happened was when I got to the point of filling it all out and saying, I shouldn't have been given this ticket, well, it said a fine of up to $100 plus court costs might be imposed. Well, I'm going to fight a $25 ticket and maybe get another $100 of court costs on me, even if I'm innocent. I think this is totally wrong. And you're not giving any help to the people who want to challenge a ticket. Now, I can afford to pay the $25. I already paid it, okay? But I'm coming here to say that somebody should look into this and fix it, particularly because, that Lake Worth thing, the green market, that's really nice. There are a lot of people who benefit from that, both on the buying and the selling side. And as tourists, I meet a lot of tourists there. So it seems to me that you don't want to be giving tickets to the people who are attending. And finally, I'm going to say that there are less than 30 free spots for 40 to 60 stalls.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And if you would too, do you have a copy of that we can have?
I'll give you my copy. It's all filled out.
Okay. Thank you, because I would like to check into what you said.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Attorney, would you? Okay. Greg Rice?
Take this one. Greg Rice of Lucerne. I want to, first of all, commend whoever crafted the citizen questionnaire or whatever that was in the utility bills. That was well written, I think. I think probably our biggest challenge is going to be trying to get as much participation or involvement as we possibly can. I think you need to mention it. What's the deadline, the 15th or something like that? Mention it at every meeting, and do big email blasts to the neighborhood associations, whenever we can, to try to get as much buy-in as you can. I mean, we could make it, boil it down to one question. If you had the magic wand and could wave it over the city and solve our biggest problem, what would that problem be? I mean, we could make it that simple. But I do think that it was a lot better written this time than it was last time, and I think it was marked improvement. So, great, I hope we can get as much participation as we can. Number two, we've got a way that we might be able to pay for the much-needed infrastructure improvements has been neglected for way too long. Going from a current news event when Russia went in and took over a little bit of real estate in the Ukraine, immediately following that, our president gave the Ukraine government $100 million, no payback, no whatever, and promised loan guarantees of several billion dollars. Maybe we can talk Lantana into coming in and taking over our landfill area. We won't protest or whatever. Let them come in and take that over, and then ask the president to give us $100 million to help us out. We solve our infrastructure problems. So just an idea. I know this is kind of crazy, but this is like work. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Amoroso.
Just briefly, yes, our new survey is out. I encourage everyone, it should have come in your utility bill. If not, it'll come mid-month. Please get it back as soon as possible. We had a professor from New Orleans that has just moved down, and she volunteered to help us with this, and this is what she does for a living. This is what she teaches. So it was a phenomenal find that she came in and volunteered. And her husband actually volunteered and is working with Dolores on actually putting all the information into the system. Because with sitting down with Dolores, I said, what's the hardest part about this? And she said, actually taking all the information and putting it into the system. So he volunteered to come in, and he went through the volunteer process, and he's actually sitting there with her and putting it all in the system. So I want to thank them for coming to Lake Worth and helping us with that, and encourage everyone to get that back.
Commissioner McBoyd?
Yeah, I was going to respond to a couple of the comments that were made. I know that Peter Tim raised the issue of, as we think about a bond issue to help improve our city, avoiding for the moment exactly what we do, what we choose to do, but the issue of borrowing money and who bears the burden of the interest payments on that. I think all of us know in Lake Worth that we do have a range of incomes, we do have a range of property values. Some are higher, some are lower. And we have no control over the homestead exemption part of it. We probably all think it's in some ways a good idea, but it does hit us a little bit harder than some communities because of the values. My personal feeling on that is I don't think we should focus on that too much. I think what we want to focus on is that Lake Worth is a community. I think we all have a lot of agreement that it needs some pulling up, and that's probably going to cost some money. And let's think about it a little bit as those who can bring a little bit more to the meal, and those who can't, their values will eventually come up in the process of this, and then they'll get their chance to bring a little bit to it. So that's just a personal opinion. I don't know how useful it is. I also heard 2 points. One was put it on the ballot. Let's put it out there so people can act on it. I totally agree, but I think that Susan Squire gave us some additional useful information, which is don't just put something on there that we've decided, this is what we think we're going to do with your money. Find some way, whether it's at the ballot time or prior to the ballot time, that we really reach out a lot into our community and say, look, if we were going to go and take out a second mortgage on the house, you think we ought to do the bathroom? Put in a pool in the back, or redo the kitchen, or maybe we ought to do the roof, it's leaking. And that we have a bit of a strong, diverse, robust discussion in the community about how much do we want to borrow? What are the things that we think are most important? Do we want to steer off a little bit of it to do some things that might not be that expensive, but may add a lot? Banners to identify different communities isn't quite the right thing because that we're doing other ways, but there can be some small things, maybe some traffic calming, maybe some environmental things, a whole range of things that might be something that would appeal to a wide range of people. So let's make sure we get that input before we just put something on the ballot. And that's my comments.
I agree with you 100%, and I just want to address Mr. Tim as well, is that I didn't get the feeling that there was any kind of adversarial in the last meeting. I thought actually we were talking about a lot of different things. I just want to give you my personal, I can't speak for everybody, but my personal, I keep saying before these meetings, every time we discuss 2020 or any of it, that this is a discussion. And I personally want to have lots of discussions about this, and we need to talk it through and figure out what we're going to do about it. This is not a be-all and end-all, and we just say, oh, this is what we have done. We're going to have lots of discussions about this. Number one, I also want to see, we've been doing a lot of hard work, several of my commissioners have mentioned, and myself too, on going to the government, going to the state, and certain things are going to happen during the legislative session that we don't know what may happen. We've got, Congresswoman Frankel on the Transportation Committee coming in here on the 14th. We've already submitted reports and paperwork to her before she went to the legislative session. There's other things that are happening. We talked about in that last meeting hybrid approaches to things. We talked about revenue bonds versus general obligation bonds versus where could we do that, where monies could be used. So there's still a lot of things in my mind that are hanging out there that we can kind of look and investigate to find how many dollars we can get to come in before this number is a finite number. And yes, everyone should vote on it, but I think after we've exhausted where we can get these monies from. And we have a lot of irons in the fire. So this is an ongoing conversation, and it's not a done deal, and we're not telling people what they have to do. We want your input. We want more people, Mr. Tim, to come out and talk about what they want. And we've got a lot of hard work to do. And eventually everybody will decide. But let's make this productive, not adversarial in any way, shape, or form. Let's get what we need and do what we need to do to take care of our city and be responsible and be the stewards of this community and responsible of our taxpayer dollars in the best way that we know how. Mr. Cantor, I want to take a look at your paperwork and see what that's all about. Where was the, if I might ask, where was the ticket at? Where were you parked at?
I was parked in the lot where the 30 places where.
In Old Bridge Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
on the west side of A1A, right adjacent to the
Okay.
tennis.
Okay, I just want to. Is it employee parking only? Okay. Commissioner Mercer, did you want to answer that? I didn't.
No, there's been a little confusion because it wasn't enforced for a long time. I negotiated the lease for the Green Market. The Green Market has always stressed that their vendors do not park in any of that parking. They are to park on the far west side and or on the grass behind their booths. There is a small amount of parking for Green Market that is free, just on the left-hand side, right before the Green Market. Everything on the right-hand side is employee parking for the actual beach employees for their decals. And it is ticketed.
Commissioner Zerdy?
Yeah, I've been over there a couple times. Normally, I don't know if there's somebody who was there that was directing, but I've been on there a couple times and there's been somebody there directing. They park that way for free or charge for some money to park on the right side. But it's pretty jammed up in there, and most people see once you get in, you can't even maneuver and get out of there. But there's been plenty of park. There's somebody who even has been there, and I've been there to help because it is confusing. I think we have 5 sets of ears up here.
My point was more about the challenge to the ticket rather than getting it. I thought I was innocent, but I didn't want a challenge.
And we'll have to have.
If we can meet at, I'd love to talk with you on a break or just any office time, and we're gonna look into it, and definitely what you're saying, we're just normal protocol for the meetings is not to go back and forth.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Zerdy, did you want to finish?
Sure. Well, there are 5 sets of ears up here to listen to as many ideas that you have on what our city needs or what's important. We have a lot of meetings. We try to advertise the meetings. Surveys go out. Those kind of things happen. try our very best to get as much feedback as we possibly can. I don't think we're up here not listening to anybody, or we're pretty accessible, I think. So we do welcome a lot of the input here. The staff has done a lot of work to find out things that we hear. Predominantly, we've heard about the potholes in the streets and the cracked sidewalks, and generally when people come into the city, just how we look as you drive around and go from one part to the other. And so on those publicly accessible areas that we see, there's a lot of other things underground that our staff has to react to, a lot of times on an emergency basis, which costs us a lot extra rather than being proactive. So this is an attempt to try to get out ahead of things a little bit if we can. Is it going to be a stretch? I believe it is, but I think this is a process that we can't delay too much longer. It just gets worse and worse. So I think all the mechanisms available to us to try to find a combination of funding, and that we've been talking about, and we'll still can keep talking. There's no decisions that have been made. However, staff has done a lot of work looking at what would be the minimum. What would be the minimum that we need to do to just not go in reverse? And I think that's kind of the track we're on. So I appreciate all those comments there. And again, I think we're all open to anybody that's listening out there as well. And staff reaches out, and a lot of people come in and out of this building all the time, and all the rest of our buildings. I think we have information there to have feedback. So.
But Mr. Rice, we won't be taking over any communities anytime soon.
We want them to take us over.
Although you want them to take us over, okay. Commissioner McVoy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Commissioner Zerdy was speaking, it occurred to me, maybe I could ask the city manager whether it would be possible to put a piece on our city website. Just sort of a place that people could log into it and put suggestions of things that are important to them if we're going to borrow money. And you can label it 2020, not everybody knows that name probably, but we're thinking of doing a bond issue, and we'd like to have at this point brainstorm things and maybe add a little bit of here are some of the issues of the kind that Commissioner's already referred to. We've got some serious stuff that's just not very exciting, but it's very important maintenance, and that's going to have to be part of the picture. But we'd like to hear, in general, if we're going to do a bond issue, we just collect them in there, and then we'll deal with sifting through them afterwards.
The modern day suggestion box.
Essentially, and I guess I understand that we're doing surveys, and I'm very pleased to hear what Commissioner Amoroso pointed out, and I'd heard some noise that we had expert help in putting the survey together. That's great. I would you can't hear too many different ways. So some people will want to call us, some people want to write us a letter, some people want to get on the website and pop a couple ideas in there. Maybe we could do that relatively easily.
I love doing that on the website, and that's just an easy way. A lot of people don't want to respond in person or set the time, but I love that. Commissioner Amoroso, did you?
Yeah, real quick before we move on, the mayor was very nice to stay for Gay Pride this weekend because it was her birthday and she had plans to leave. So we have a cake in the other room as tradition, and it's always tradition that we sing happy birthday. So please join me in singing happy birthday to the mayor.
Kiwi.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mayor. Happy birthday to you.
Boy, you sounded good.
Thank you, that was awesome. Thank you, guys.
That was a party.
You made no lady blush. Excuse me, older lady. Just a year. Thank you guys very much. I hope it's the cake in there.
Cake's in the other room.
Yeah, help yourself, please, at any time. Enjoy.
Motion to adjourn?
No motion to adjourn.
Nice try.
Maybe someone will bring it out. Oh, gosh. Look at it all flustered. I don't care how old you get. When someone sings you happy birthday, you get like a little kid inside. That's so cute. Thank you. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Oh, all right. Approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.